Islam.
I'd like to request the permission to speak. Today we're going through the Treaty of Peace and Friendship and the Treaty of Tripoli. Is there any distinction? Is there any difference in the two? Can anybody tell me?
How does it sound loud on the mic?
Good.
Good.
I know y'all, I'm just doing this for the camera. Is there any difference in the two? You don't know, say you don't know. All right. There's no difference in the two, but this is an extension of that one. This came before that. Over here, but it's the same treaty. It's just an extension. All right? So we're going to hit both of them today.
A little louder.
A little louder?
Yeah.
I can turn the volume on back here. I turn it down.
Better.
That's better?
A little bit. Yeah.
Like I said, we're going to hit both of them today. I gave you all a couple lists of spelling words and stuff like that. Because, it's a lot of words going to be read and spoken that you might not be familiar with. That's why we do the definitions. So the first page we're going to turn to, and your book should be page 8. On page 8, does it say preface?
Yes.
Everybody have that? Anybody not have it? All right, cool. We're going to read the preface of the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. Now, you know what? Before we get into that, can anybody tell me what the Treaty of Peace and Friendship is before we go into the preface?
A passport.
Passport? For who?
Europeans.
Do y'all understand what she said?
Yeah.
She said it's a passport for the Europeans. On the list of words that I gave y'all, somebody find passport and read it.
Remember that this was signed to.
That's what I put, refer to Black's law.
Yeah.
This was signed between the Europeans and the Moors
Right.
to settle out so that they could be at peace in this land.
No. The Treaty of Peace and Friendship was written so that they can do commerce in Morocco. I want everybody to be clear on that. The Treaty of Peace and Friendship was enacted so the European could freely do commerce in Morocco. Now, when I say Morocco, some people who don't know, they're going to think I'm talking about Morocco in the northwest corner of the continent of Africa. The land that you're standing on is Morocco of the West. It's still in Morocco. You're in the Alma-Rocks. Northwest Amexem is Alma-Rock. You got the definition?
Yeah, passport it's under 4 different.
Let them have the mic.
It's under 4 different
Let me
laws.
see. Yeah.
Maritime, international.
Yeah. The definition is extensive. So I didn't want to write it all out. But I'm gonna read to y'all passport. How many people have passports? Just by show of hands. I'm gonna read to y'all what a passport is. In maritime law, a document issued to a neutral merchant vessel. Maritime law pertains to what? Seas. So when they talk about a vessel, they're talking about what? Ship. A document issued to a neutral merchant vessel by her own government during the progress of war to be carried on the voyage to evidence her nationality and protect her against the cruisers of the belligerent powers. This paper is otherwise called a pass, a sea pass, a sea letter, sea brief. It usually contains the captain's or master's name and residence, the name, property, description, tonnage, and the destination of the ship, the nature and quantity of the cargo, the place from whence it came and its destination, with such other matters as the practice of place requires. Now, from what I just read, anything strike anybody? And y'all, for those of y'all that know me, y'all know I like interactive classes. I'm gonna talk to y'all gonna talk back. I'm not gonna sit here and preach to y'all all day. We gonna talk to each other. We family.
From maritime, it sounds one way. It's from your particular nation. It doesn't say anything about another nation.
It said from her nation.
Right.
Her nation, her being who? No.
Not the captain.
No.
Woman.
No. Come on.
Don't they name ships after women?
Man, they talking about the shit.
Shit. Well, yeah.
See, this is why we read. This is why we got Black Star. This is why we got the dictionaries. This is why we read. You know, when they talk about a ship, they say she, they say her. When you talk about a Corvette, they say she, they say her. When they're not talking about an actual, natural, living, breathing individual, they're talking about an object, because a ship is an object. So they're talking about the vessel when they say she. But what nationality does she have?
Influence with our own.
All right. I own this book. What's the nationality of this book? It has none. It has none. But in him it says that the ship has nationality. It says to evidence her nationality. Just little stuff. You got, when you read, you got to be able to pick up on that type of stuff. Now here they giving the ship a nationality, but you didn't have it. Now, if any of y'all,
flag it's under?
yeah, but it's an object. An object can't have a nationality. It's an object. It's a ship.
Given nationality, so laws apply to it.
The maritime laws apply. The maritime laws apply anyway because it's on the water. So automatically maritime applies.
Can I share this? Because it's making me think as if like the nationality, how it's defined in here or dismayed. It's kind of like the laws of how that cargo is going to, or that ship going to remain a ship. Because if it's capsized or the materials or the evidence inside of it becomes, you know understand what I'm saying? Like useless, then the laws of maritime doesn't exist because it becomes waste.
If you mean if the ship goes down.
Correct.
Yeah, but the ship is an object. It still can have nationality. Do me a favor. You got your Black Star on your lap. Look up nationality. You got a
Okay.
question?
Yeah, take it back. Morocco. There's two Moroccos?
There's one Morocco.
Okay, can you explain that?
The place, when you think of Morocco, what do you think of?
The Morocco that they talk about.
In Africa, right? On the continent. All right. This land right here is part of the empire of Morocco. You know, right. So it's Morocco of the West. You ever hear them say the sun never sets on Great Britain?
Huh?
You ever hear the term the sun never sets on Great Britain?
Right.
And the reason for that is you can go to every corner of the world and see the British flag.
Okay.
So if I just take everybody in this room and we make a voyage, we travel up to Canaan now. The first thing you're going to see when we go across the border is the QEW. That's Queen Elizabeth Way. Now you can call it Canada if you want, but everything there is under the rule of Queen Elizabeth.
So anything, so Morocco over there, and Gina, this is a part of Morocco, which was under.
Still is.
Still, okay, go back to whatever it is, under Morocco, it's still there.
Absolutely.
So what is the majority of people in America don't do that?
I'm gonna answer you, yes. The majority of the people don't know that. I mean, at some point, nobody in this room knew that, and nobody was breaking their necks to tell us.
Why do you think that?
You said, why do I think that?
Mm-hmm.
Because you gotta figure. Now, once we get through the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, and we get through the Constitution, and you start to see certain things, you'll understand why this was kept a secret. Now, as far as you know, as far as I know, and as far as the majority of everybody here knows, we came here in 1620 to Jamestown, Virginia, when that first slave ship that docked. So they say, right? But when you go down to Mexico, Peru, and even this land, you find statues that look like old buses that date back 1500 BCE.
Right.
So we're talking 3,500 years, right? Now, if We just showed up in 1620. Where that stuff come from? It doesn't make sense. I say this time and time again, and I'm gonna always say it to anybody who wants to be in dispute with me. If we came from Africa and there was other people here who they said were here, what they call Indians, how is it that me and Bilal show up and we make that much of an impression on you and everybody else in this room that you only leave edifice of me and Bilal and none of you? You've never seen, you can go anywhere. You ain't gonna see no statues of no so-called Indians unless they are recent, they're modern.
Another way to trace your ancestry back is to study. They don't talk about things like the commerce that we did and all the art. And you can see this in just about everybody's culture. You see, like, especially the sugars and stuff that they so-called got us to get the mine and do all the work. But one of my things that I always had in school is, like, they said we came on slave ships, but where's the ships?
There ain't none.
Not only that, but just the other day, my cousin was having a dispute with somebody on Facebook, and because I was in there getting ready for class Thursday night. So I told him, yo, tag me in, because it's the argument about slavery. Now, the thing is this: one of my teachers, one of my friends, from DC, just cleared it up one day. Me and him was up in college. He said, "How long did it take to make a voyage?" I said 3 to 5 months. He said, "How many people on the boat?" From their cargo records, from their docks, they say 100 to 200 people. Right? He said 3 to 5 months, 100 to 200 people. The ships will have to be doing this. One dock, they told us it was 10 million people on there. For the numbers to match, that means the ocean just got to be lined with ships, and they come in and drop it. Now, the other day, Taj pointed something out. And Taj said this. Taj said, buoyancy, the ship would totally be thrown off if they did one thing, and that was board enough water for all the slaves. For the crew. Buoyancy of the ship would be thrown off, right? Because, I mean, you're talking 3 to 5 months. Even if we're talking, the minimum, 3 months, they cannot bring enough water for everybody, right? Naboo just dipped off, but Naboo was in the Navy. And he said, we was making our water. I'm like, making the water? It was filtering the ocean water, right? Now, so we already done figured out that they wasn't bringing all that water. What about the food? Not to mention the fact that they had head to toe lined up, all the way, you know what I'm saying, all the way around the ships. Not to mention people defecate, people urinate, people getting sick. It's not possible that I can lay next to a dead body for 3 days and not get sick.
And somebody lit a cigarette back then.
Now, on top of that, you're talking about the water. So another thing Taj pointed out was this: 3 to 5 months. That means the seasons change. Now, all of y'all know when. Somebody tell me when it's hurricane season.
Fall, in the summer, beginning of fall.
All right, so we talking August. We talking like late August to October, right? And anybody know the path of a hurricane?
Yeah,
From the west coast of Africa to the Caribbean. Now, all we gotta do is start putting stuff into perspective. See, August, September, October, 3 months, right? So that means them 3 months they ain't traveling. I'd be damned. I wouldn't care if what you was gonna pay. I'm not doing it. I'm not coming through the hurricane to travel. I'm not doing it. So let's just say for them 3 months they didn't travel. So them 3 months out the book. 9 months left. You got 9 months to get me over here about 100,000 people at 100 a time, 100. You just got to start putting stuff in perspective and start making sense out of stuff.
And I mean, if they showed you the slave museum shackles, but they can't show you ships.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to make some shackles. Get a couple, you know.
I mean, yeah, but a lot of places had dungeons and stuff like that. You can easily say, well, like, I need some dungeon over there, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you can produce that.
Yeah.
And what y'all should research is this. Understand that it wasn't just us that was enslaved. Understand that we had Moors enslaved and we had Europeans enslaved.
Oh, I know.
As well as they had Europeans and they had Moors enslaved. It wasn't a one-way street. wasn't a one-way street. Don't be afraid to do a little bit of research. Just a little bit. In international law, a passport is a license or safe conduct issued during the progress of a war, authorizing a person to remove himself or his effects from the territory of one of the belligerent nations to another country, or to travel from country to country without arrest or detention on account of the war. Now that sounds like what you have now, everybody who has a passport, right? What war?
Or a license.
Undeclared war.
They say because of war.
Right.
Well, why can't we just leave and go to Mexico? If we want to. See? In American law, all of this is right here in Black's law. Oh, that's why I didn't, because it was so much to write down and type. That's why I said it for Black's law. In American law, a passport is an instrument intended for the protection of American vessels against the Barbary powers. Now, y'all gonna find out what the Barbary powers are in a second, but does anybody know?
Yeah, the Moors.
Who? Moorish. Where's the Barbary coast?
Supposed to be north coast, the northern coast of North.
That place was usually called the Mediterranean Pass. Also a document addressed to foreign powers which certifies that the person therein described as a citizen of the United States, and which requests for him while abroad permission to come and go, as well as lawful aid and protection. In modern law, a warrant of protection and authority to travel granted by the competent officer to persons moving from place to place. So in short, a passport is for who?
Europeans.
Other than Americans.
Passports were for who or what? Vessels, not people. Because you're not passing any port. A port is when a ship pulls in and unloads cargo. He just came in the port. So in order for you to pass this port, because you're not from here, your nation is there. In order for you to pass this port or that port, I need to issue you a passport. Simple, yo. It ain't so simple, but it is. If you just read and you just take time to just comprehend what it is that you read. And if you can't, and if you're having trouble comprehending it, come on, say, yo, I'm reading this, I don't get it. Somebody in here understand. Let's get back to the preface. We never even started the preface, huh? A treaty of peace and friendship was established under the authority of Muhammad ibn Abdullah, the Sultan of Morocco, and sealed by his royal seal in the court of Morocco in the Moorish calendar year 1199, corresponding to 1786 AD. What's that about? I'll write that on the board. I put MC for Moorish County. 1199. Over here, I'll put ED. 1786.
I know that one time it passed with so-called Jesus Christ, and I'm not sure the Moorish.
Why the discrepancy in years though? Why the Moorish calendar say 1799? I mean 1199, and Christian calendar year is 17. Huh?
You said you're page 8, but it might be different.
Oh yeah. Listen, y'all forgive me. Y'all page is 8.
Okay.
Let me see your book.
No, you got the same one you
Oh,
have.
you got the same book I got. Turn to 16.
Okay.
You got the teacher's edition on the book. Anybody know what the discrepancy in years is?
580 years that
So Somebody said something about what?
The 580-year difference that the Europeans added to the Gregorian calendar to separate the time frame of the Moorish calendar.
Y'all get that?
Yeah, I got it.
Say it again.
The 580 years that the Europeans added to the Moorish calendar to separate the
Good to see you over there.
separate the time frame in the laws, or to corrupt the laws.
500, the 500, I think it's 587. Something like that.
585.
Y'all check it out. Y'all check it out. Y'all understand, when you go back in time, how long ago was Adam and Eve? Anybody know? Adam and Eve. How long ago was Adam and Eve?
6,000.
How many? 6,000 years? Wasn't that long? Was it? 2,000? It's more like 4,000 or 5,000 right now, right? Well, how old is Harun Maketi, what they call the Spanish?
Oh, that's.
Oh well, that's older than Adam and Eve, right? All right, well, so then you can see that some dates been changed and flipped up.
They never show pictures of them even neighbors.
Yeah, well, you know,
belly button.
if they're human or humankind, they gotta have belly buttons. I mean, they came from somewhere.
Yeah, they came from that. They weren't the first. They came from somebody else. This is crazy.
All right, let's go back to the preface. The treaty was ratified by the presiding president, Arthur St. Clair of the United States Republic, in the year 1787 AD, which corresponds to the Moorish calendar year 1200. The treaty is one of amity and commerce between Morocco and the United States of North America, and is referred to as the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. It is also the world's longest running treaty sanctioned by the sovereign Moors. In that first line up there, it says President Arthur St. Clair. Anybody ever heard of President Arthur St. Clair? So the rest of y'all don't know who St. Clair is. Can I erase what's on the board? Yes, no? All right. Y'all familiar with the Continental Congress? Yes, no?
Yes.
Arthur St. Clair was a president in the Continental Congress. Arthur St. Clair was president in the Continental Congress. And what year did I say?
1787.
Arthur St. Clair. Anybody know when George Washington came in office?
1797.
1789? 1789? Is that it? 1789? It's not.
It's not.
All right, well, either way, they told you that George Washington was the first president, right? Well, who? What's this Arthur St. Clair stuff?
Continental Congress.
We'll get
They
there.
didn't count it.
Oh, they counted them. They just didn't tell you
Right.
that they counted. We'll get to it. Let's get back to the preface. See, I'm now. The reason I did that is because I'm giving you reference points. I want y'all to remember Arthur St. Clair because you're going to come across it in a minute or two. A treaty is an international law compact that is made and agreed upon between two or more nations or sovereigns with a view to public welfare of those diverse treating nations. Thus, treaties like the nation's constitution everybody looking down. How come nobody looked up? It said treaties like the nation's constitution. Is the Constitution a treaty or is it the Constitution?
Contract.
So what y'all do? Yeah, see, so what you do, I mean, you just read it. It said treaties like this country's constitution. So what you do is make a mental note. So you can go look up treaty and constitution, see if there's any difference, and see if it isn't. Y'all gonna talk back to me, y'all. I'm gonna pack up the split. Thus, treaties like the nation's constitution becomes and is the supreme law of the land. And the same are to be viewed and studied and recognized as one instrument The treaty and the Constitution are to be lawfully recognized, applied, treated, and enforced accordingly. And the representatives, the officers in the departments of government, the politicians, and the judges of every state are bound thereby. They're bound by what? By their oaths. They all take oaths. They all stand up. They all say, I solemnly swear to yada, yada, yada. Now, they take an oath to the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, too. But they ain't going to say that. Similar to the same reason why when you look at the presidential seal, you only see the eagle. You never see the pyramid. But if you look on the back of the dollar bill, it says, under the pyramid, the Great Seal. And then under the eagle, it says, of the United States. That's one sentence. It's just on two different pictures.
With the Constitution, well, with the Treaty of Peace and Friendship coming before the Constitution, and then the article, what is it, Article 6, Section 2, that says that you gotta listen to all treaties made prior
Yes.
to.
Prior to
Yes.
the Constitution.
So
Yes.
by taking an oath to the Constitution, you took an
Automatic.
oath to the
Right.
treaty.
Now, for those of y'all who were here when we did the Articles of Confederation, 1643, 1777, those came before the Constitution as well. So they've taken an oath to that too. Now, for whoever wasn't here, a lot of them might have the DVDs over there, and if not, get with her. She has them. All you got to do is read these documents, read these instruments. They call them documents of freedom. If you go down to the what's that place? The archive down in D.C. They got a room in there. It's called the Rotunda, and they got their article, their documents of freedom. And they got the Bill of Rights. They got the Constitution. They got the Declaration. They got the Articles of Confederation. We just sat right in there in the past couple months, and we read these documents, and we seen everything that they put in there, and how they using everything that they cried and complained about. They turned around and flipped the script and going into us. When I read that Declaration of Independence, you remember I was in the house laughing as I'm going through it, because I'm like, yo, we can actually take the same document. So yeah, take that. What the hell y'all doing? We giving you the same thing y'all, that you said our ancestors did to us, did to y'all. Y'all doing to us. Y'all doing to us. Now, I want to point something out, because I see you saying that, so I'm going to acknowledge you. I don't want you to think that I'm up here just coming down on Europeans, because what you need to understand is this. Your nationality has been stripped as well. You're technically called white.
Ooh, she ain't white.
Are you Hispanic? Okay, I apologize then. But since we on that, their nationality has been stripped too. They're called white. But if you go to Europe, you won't hear none of them called white. Now, forgive me for calling you Hispanic, because you ain't that either. Where were you born? Here? Where your ancestors from? Puerto Rico. In about a month, we're gonna watch a documentary in class, and I'm gonna thoroughly break it down. It's called Black Grandma in the Closet. If any of y'all get the opportunity, watch it beforehand. But I'm going to thoroughly break it down. I took a page and a half worth of notes watching this documentary. Now, your ancestors come from where? Do you know? Not your immediate ancestors. The ancestors in Puerto Rico. That's enough.
From what I was told, my grandfather's family is from Spain. From my mother's side, I'm from Puerto Rico.
I don't mean your immediate family. I mean way back in Puerto Rico. The original people of Puerto Rico, when the country was called Boyacá. Before it was the rich port that the Europeans enjoyed so much.
So ain't the Indians in?
They was African. In Puerto Rico, in Cuba, in the Dominican, in Brazil, in Peru, all of these places, they were African. Forgive me for assuming that you were European. And forgive me for calling you Hispanic. That came out in the 70s. So you're not that. I see you, man. Put your hand down. I'm going to get to you. I got you. I got you. But the one thing, what I want to point out is that it's not just us. Although my real only concern is us. I'll help a European as well. But my concern is you. But everybody's nationality was stripped and taken. They got her thinking she's Hispanic. Hispanic came out in the 70s. Before that, there was niggas who spoke Spanish. That's how the European looked at them. niggas who spoke Spanish.
Two questions. That film that you was talking about, you're gonna do next month. I think I watched something the other day with Henry Louis Gates and
It's the same thing. Same thing.
Cool. Next question. Why is it that certain Africans are classified as Caucasians, like Ethiopians? When you look up the census for Ethiopia,
Any of y'all know about the oil embargo from the 70s? You know about that? All right, so the Middle East, the so-called Middle East, put an oil embargo on the United States. How they made good is places like Egypt. I don't know about Ethiopia, but Egypt and other places in the Middle East are no longer a part of Africa. They're what's called the Middle East. And when they come to the United States for citizenship,
Ethiopians is
they are classified as white.
Yep.
So they have a nationality.
When you come to the United States, citizenship, that means you're being naturalized. And in order to be naturalized, you got to take your citizenship, I mean your nationality, tear it up, and toss it to become a United States citizen. So you have no more nationality. So when people come from Egypt, when people come from Saudi Arabia, when people come from Iraq, even though Egypt is still attached to the continent of Africa, it's no longer a part of Africa thanks to the United States, the good old boys, back in the 70s. See, so when they come here, they are classified as what's called white. And they may be dark as all of us in this room.
In Puerto Rico, they were called Tainos, and then they brought, as the slave trade started or continued, they dropped off those brothers from the other side, which is Africa, and they dropped them, some of them off in Puerto Rico and other different islands, and the Puerto Ricans were called Tainos. There was another group on some other islands called Arawaks, but they were all Africans, different tribes of Africans, and they have a hard time finding out, well, I don't know what a Taino is. Then they say, well, Tainos are Indians, if you look at the book. But back in the day, when I was a kid, and there were old Puerto Ricans around, they say they were Tainos, and they knew that they came from Africa, and that they were always there. They came early, and then they used that port to drop off people, to enslave them and make them act a certain way before they brought them to this side of America.
Anybody ever read Christopher Columbus's travel documents?
Some of it.
Anybody know where he landed before because he never came
Yeah,
here.
he landed in Hispaniola.
Just-
DR, right?
Right. He landed in the Caribbean. Let's keep it simple, in the Caribbean, right?
Yeah.
Now, anybody know who was there when he got there, who he said was there? We were. So you can call me Arawak, you can call me a midget, you can call me whatever you want. Me myself, I don't like to get tied down into that because it causes too much confusion. My birth last name is one thing, yours is different. It don't take away from the fact that we're Indigenous Americans.
Exactly.
All right, so if y'all want to sit around and y'all want to dig up tribes, go ahead, have fun. But what you're gonna find out is that you're still indigenous to this land.
Well, that's what I was trying to say. I was saying, well, everybody, every nationality calls themselves whatever, but you're still the same people. You just don't know because you haven't been taught, and you're looking for your past, and you find out one name, then you throw out the other name because you aren't sure. But if you know we're all one and the same, you're just on this land you call this, on this land these people call themselves that, and on this
But
land.
the problem is,
So we're not
most people don't know that.
separating each other.
Most people don't know that. A Jamaican thinks he's different than I am. I don't know what you think or how you think. I don't know you, but you may think that you're different than me or that you're different than him. But in reality, you're not. When we watch the documentary, you're going to find out that in the land of Brazil, and don't think that it only happened in Brazil, because if y'all know anything about Central and South America, it's majority Catholic. So the Pope has influence down there. So what happened was this: they started a ship. I see you. You ain't had to go off the phone. I see you standing right there. I saw you. So they shipped, just to Brazil alone, 400,000 Europeans to Brazil. But for what? to dilute because they look like us. Outside of the continent of Africa, the highest concentration of melanated beings live in Brazil. Now, imagine if in the early 1900s, 1800s, they wasn't sending them Europeans down there. They still be in Mexico, in Cuba, in Brazil. There's a country, there's a state all the way on the west coast of Mexico. Either one of y'all remember the name? But everybody in the town look like us.
Right.
Everybody.
Yeah, Henry Gates was talking about that on.
That's the same documentary I'm talking
Yeah.
about. Everybody over there looks like us. And it ain't no surprise that that's one of the poorest parts of Mexico. Just like everybody, I don't think nobody in here would turn down a free trip to the Dominican Republic. Right. Now, how come if I say don't go to that side of the island, go to the other side of the island, I ain't going to Haiti. Why not?
Because
It's
they
the same
dark
island.
skin.
It's the same island. They dark skinned in the DR too. They just show you people. You know what I'm saying?
But even more than that, the fact that when he came here and he wound up in Hispaniola, he then called, those were the first people he called Indians, and then as they continued around for the spice trip, he called everybody.
He called them Indians. It
was all us.
He called them Indians because they look like the same people he encountered in India. Yep. Now, all of y'all got enough sense to know that this is not Indian.
Right.
So none of y'all should be calling anybody Indians. Simple. Back to the preface. Diversity. That's where I'm gonna start. Diversity is the condition or circumstance of being diverse or different. Diversity alters considerations in a case. Diversity issues must eventually arise from time to time in international intercourse. Therefore, diverse considerations for assuring proper venue, proper jurisdiction qualifications, proper identification qualifications, and all other related consular applications come into play. Such controversies have a specified venue which is called consular court. When these controversies are to be adjudicated between the diverse citizens or parties, international law and treaty, constitution law will automatically and correctly be invoked. I'm gonna read the last sentence again and see if it strikes anything in any of y'all. When these controversies are to be adjudicated between the diverse citizens or parties, international law and treaty, constitution law automatically and correctly be invoked. Can anybody tell me what that means? Or what that pertains to?
It means status and nationality has to be up front before the adjudication part. Talk about what law or what constitution you represent, what nation you represent.
That was before, we read that before that. When these controversies are to be adjudicated, what's adjudication?
Judge.
But between the diverse citizens or parties. What diverse citizens or parties?
Moors and Christians.
So then, if there's a situation between Europeans and between Moors, then what needs to happen? It's right there in front of you. So how do we
Consular court.
Right. International law and constitutional and treaty law must, it has to be invoked and enforced. The problem is when people go to court, they're not invoking anything, and they ain't enforcing it. Few people in here done had judges stuttering before. All of us should be having judges stuttering. Because once we start to learn this, we start to poke your chest out. What was you going to say a second ago? Forgive me.
When we're talking about Puerto Rico, and we were talking before about the crayon. Everybody's got this crayon stuff on it. Puerto Rico is an island. You can't name the people after the island. So what you are, you're more, you're not speaking more. That's what what's his name, Carl Verdavis, or whatever his name is, that German scholar.
Carl
that
Verdavis.
started naming people after countries. You can't do that. Poland, you're not Polish, because that's the name of the island. You can't name people after it. So you're not speaking more. You're African. And see, this is what they did to sidetrack and cut everybody off, so you don't know what you are. It's a big game. You have to study, and you have to tell your children so you figure this game out. And that's what kills us all time.
Consequently is where I'm gonna start. Consequently, in personam jurisdiction, subject matter jurisdiction, and territorial jurisdiction, classifications and applications should always be noted and established for the record. Anybody know what personam jurisdiction is? Talk to me.
They have jurisdiction over individuals.
Right. That means they have jurisdiction over you. That needs to be established. Anybody know what subject matter jurisdiction is? All right. Each one of y'all has a list with spelling words. So what y'all telling me is that nobody looked at the list that I handed out.
No, I was about to say, yeah,
So if anybody looked at it, then y'all should be speaking up. I'm gonna make it clear one more time. I do interactive classes. That means I speak to y'all and y'all speak back. Now, if y'all ain't gonna talk to me, I'm putting the microphone up and I'm gonna find something to do.
I'll talk.
Think about this, SetenRa. Going back to in personam jurisdiction, you have to have jurisdiction over an individual. But an individual really means corporate, so you got to watch out for that first. You know what I mean? So that's why you always got to go in and you got to stress.
You know, now,
the persona.
the reason it's written that way is because they do have jurisdiction over the individual. They don't have jurisdiction over the natural living person.
Right.
That's, see, I want y'all to read. I ain't listen. I don't sit up and go through this for nothing, for fun. Putting this stuff together is not a piece of cake. I'm a week. I'm all day thinking. I'm in all day riding around in my truck, and I'm listening to stuff and getting prepared to come stand in front of y'all. Now, if y'all not going to talk back, if y'all not going to participate, then I won't come no more. And I'm being sincere. I'm not threatening y'all. I'm being sincere. Right now, I'm injured. The few people who was here with me, they know that from earlier. I'm injured. My foot hurts. But I'm standing here in front of y'all. I started to cancel class last night. I told my wife, no, we having class. I told my cousin, we having class. I'm here. Don't have me standing up here for nothing. Talk back to me. And if I say something and you don't know, say, bro, I don't know. But don't just sit there quiet. Don't sit there quiet. I want y'all to talk to me like I'm talking to y'all. We family in here. I ain't no better than none of y'all. I can read just like y'all can. We square?
Yep. It's gone.
So, the question was, do you know what the subject matter of jurisdiction is?
Not of jurisdiction, subject matter jurisdiction.
Subject matter, okay. I was trying to, could he repeat what he said for that answer? Because I was trying to understand the definition of that.
It's talking about persona.
He was talking about in personam jurisdiction. Read me that definition, please.
Okay. The subject matter.
No, in personam jurisdiction.
Oh, okay. The personam to have jurisdiction over an individual.
Right. So what he said was, definition says that they have jurisdiction over the individual, not the person. And I said correct, because they do have jurisdiction over the individual because the individual relates to a corporation,
And not a person.
not a natural living person.
Individual being a person with a birth certificate.
See?
Yeah.
This is what I'm saying. When you see stuff like that, when I'm reading, how you think I'll get all these definitions? I get the stuff, and I'll be like, wait. Let me make sure I understand clearly what they're saying. Because individual to you, she's an individual. He's an individual. You ain't thinking she's a corporation, and you ain't thinking he's a corporation. But in law, you're talking something totally different. This is the big argument with black. This is the whole big argument with black.
So you say individual in this case means?
A corporation. So when people say, yeah, we are black, yeah, I'm black, and we arguing with each other saying we black, and then you got me standing there saying, no, you're not. I'm not, first of all, I have yet to see somebody with black skin. I seen a brother, he was jet, yeah, all right, cool. But you have the color black. Like these slippers, you ain't seen nobody look like that. You ain't seen no white people look like my size. You ain't gonna see it. But when you're talking lawfully, you're talking about status. You're not talking about no nation of people. It's a play on words. They do it all the time.
Okay.
Subject matter, since you got the paper in there.
Subject matter or matter presented for consideration, the thing in dispute, the right to which one party claims against another.
Anybody not understand what he just read?
Subject.
Speak up loud.
Subject, matter presented for consideration, the thing in dispute, the right to which one party claims against another.
So is that the actual argument, or is it the last sentence, the right? Is it a right or?
This Black's Law Dictionary right here, right? If you say it's yours and I say it's mine, now we both Moors and he's Moors, so he can adjudicate it back. This is the subject because that's what's in dispute.
Yeah.
Whose book it is? Y'all got that?
Yeah, I got it.
Y'all got that?
Yeah.
Territorial jurisdiction. Come on, Malak, you got the paper in your hand.
Oh, okay. Territory,
Territory.
Territory over which government or subdivision thereof have jurisdiction.
Read it again, please.
Okay. Territory over which government, which a government or subdivision thereof have jurisdiction.
Now, we know what the government is. The government is what's supposed to rule over the people,
Yeah.
right? But what's the subdivision?
Agencies.
States.
States. State got 1,000 different definitions. We've been through this. Pennsylvania has a state government, right? So Philadelphia will be what? A subdivision of the state of Pennsylvania. It's all part of the same corporation. It's just a different part.
So that would mean that like cities are considered
Subdivisions of states.
States. Okay. Clear. I got you.
Consequently, in personam jurisdiction, subject matter jurisdiction, and territorial jurisdiction, classifications and
Clarification.
applications.
That's clarification.
Huh? Yep, clarifications and applications should always be noted and established for the record. Now that's in the treaty. So when you go into these magistrates, tribunals, that they call courts, you should automatically get jurisdiction clarified. Once jurisdiction has been questioned, jurisdiction has to be proved. Article 3, Section 2 of the United States Constitution demonstrates the universal character of its diverse construction will thus apply. Therefore, a proper venue in such controversies will be a consular court, yet litigated under the same protecting principles of secure constitutional law as deemed proper for those citizens of the nation state. So what that says is that none of y'all are supposed to be going downtown to any courtrooms unless it's a consular court. Now, under threat, duress, or coercion, you go. Because they got guns and nightsticks and you don't want to be knocked in the head or shot and dragged out in front of your children. But lawfully speaking, the only way to enforce the law is for us to enforce it. If it was consular court. Consular court is the court that's been set up for Aboriginal people in the United States of America. Because we're going to have disputes with the Europeans. They're here on our land. So when we have disputes with them, we're going to go to their tribunals. We go to our courts, a lawful court. So that way treaty and constitutional law can be invoked. And we can be protected under these documents that are put in place to protect us.
We will go to our courts.
We should be going to our courts. The problem is, I think it was Eisenhower, one of them said that consular court was wiped out.
Oh, really?
Technically, the consular court can be held right here in this room.
Is that would they have been the same back in that time as the Freedmen's Bureau?
I don't know. I don't remember too much about the Freedmen's Bureau, to be perfectly honest with you. But in order for us to have a consular court, if she's on trial, let's just say he's European. He's European. She's on trial. She's the defendant. All of y'all will be the jury of her peers.
Okay.
But we could actually, all we need is somebody to sit here and decide, Matt, this is our court, this is our land. We don't have to have a nice fancy building. We can do it right here. The problem is we don't have nobody to enforce that. I know he was great stand up. Hey, take the microphone, man, so you can
Have your minute.
No, I just want to say a couple.
Yeah, I know. I knew you was gonna say something when I got
Now,
there.
we do have a consular court in the city. We have judges, and we're putting sheriffs together. But we do already have that, and we're just putting it together. It'll be in place pretty soon. But we have one court. We just didn't have enough people that volunteered to help out to get it going. But it's going. But we do have one in court, and we will be trying these Europeans. It's just a matter of time until we get it together. We're working on it. We're working on it for 5-6 months. Me and a other couple brothers, and it's been going on for a while. It just wasn't enough people. But we do have 5 judges. We got court administration. We have everything we need. We have the court. We always had the court. It just wasn't involved. Sorry, I just wanted to say.
Sorry for what? You gave them information. They used it. After nation state, a consular venue requires that the accusing party of one nation is to strictly observe due process and pre-notifications to the consular's office, to the consular officer or officers of the sovereign nation or sovereign state of the accused. No arbitrary or color of law actions. Everybody know what color of law actions are?
What appears to be.
That's what appears to be law. That's what we're under right now, color of law. When they tell you you need a driver's license to drive. No arbitrary or color of law actions, procedures, or processes are deemed lawful, nor are they allowed, absent of these diversity established rules. Note, the Constitution for the United States, Article 3, Section 2, and a diverse characteristic of its first clause. Section 2, the judicial power shall extend to all cases in law and equity arising under this Constitution. The laws of the United States and treaties made or which shall be made under their authority to all cases affecting ambassadors, other public ministers, and consuls, to all cases of admiralty and maritime jurisdiction, to controversies to which the United States shall be a party, to controversies between 2 or more states, between a state and citizens of another state, between citizens of different states, between citizens of the same state claiming lands under grants of different states, and between the state or the citizens thereof and foreign states, citizens or subjects. Now, with everything that I just read in there, how many times y'all hear me say state? A lot of times, right? You said 10? Controversies between 2 or more states. Right? Between a state and a citizen of another state. Now, what's the difference in that statement and the one I just read? Let's qualify state. A state is a group of people, common interests, common ideals, common goals. That constitutes a state, right? All right, so everybody in here, we make a state, right? Now, if we go outside, the policy enforcers create another state, right? So, differences between 2 states. It says states in the book. We're going to use states. It says states in the book. We're going to stick with states. We're going to stick with the subject matter. That's what's in the book. Now, it says between states and citizens of another state. What's the difference in that? If it wasn't a difference, they wouldn't put it in there.
The state that that individual is in, apparently that law doesn't apply because, for lack of a better term, I'll say beef. The beef is with a whole different state from where you are from or at.
What it's saying is this, right? We sitting right here, we make a state, right? So you're a citizen of this state, right? Now the police make another state. So all of us don't have a problem with the police, they kicked your ass. So you are a citizen of this state, and a discrepancy with that state, between the state and citizens of another state.
In other words, family members, when they are bringing de facto charges up on one another, those are the 2 states in the same nation going against each other, as opposed to a citizen of another state.
No, those are citizens of the same state. Two,
Right,
now,
right.
no, so
Same
if it's
state,
me and
same
him,
nation.
if it's me and him,
Right,
we have the same state,
correct.
right? Now, if it's him against the police, it's two different
Correct,
states.
correct.
Right.
But he, at that point, he is you, because that is, if we are one nation and one party of our nation is going
Right.
against
But-
another nation's
but-
states or citizens.
But I'm only being specific because the book is specific.
Understood.
So when it says between citizens of one state against another state, I'm only being specific because the book is. So we will be citizens of this state against that state. Whereas if it's state versus state, it's all of us against all of them. I'm only being specific because the book is specific.
Got it.
Why doesn't it, bunch everyone, this doesn't bunch everyone together, I don't think. Whereas, like you just said, if we're all of the same state, I have an issue with a separate state, it's not all of us against them, it's just specifically.
That's why they differentiate and they say between citizens of different states. I mean, it says between the state and the citizens of another state. That's why they differentiate, and then they say between citizens of different states. So then that would be all of us citizens against them citizens. You know what I'm saying? So initially, let me back up because I need to correct and qualify the first thing. When they say between states, that would be like the state of Morocco against the state of the United States. That's between states. Let me qualify that. I'm gonna clear that up. You clear?
Clear.
All right. I want y'all to be able to look at that. Don't just read it. But when you see that and they say between states and citizens and this and that, you should be scratching your head like, what the hell all this mean? Like, I'm confused. But then when you understand what state is, now just to give you a little cheat sheet. If you come to a situation like this and you don't understand and you keep saying state, 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 then what do? You look it up. Because if you open up that Black's Law and you see how many different definitions it is for state, I can talk about the state of the space, I can talk about the state of affairs, I can talk about the state of Pennsylvania, I can talk about the state of weather. Look it up. And then you'll have a clearer understanding of what's in the book. Cool? I got page 23, I'll turn to page 15. Yeah, you got the same book I got. So turn to page 15. Y'all see the United States? No, don't worry about when I'm turning. You turn to 15. Everybody got the United States?
Yes, sir.
And the cute little map?
Yeah.
The United States. The United States of America is a contemporary political body politic. Union of European political states. Guilds established at Northwest Amexem, Northwest Africa, North America. Why the three different terms? Northwest Amexem, Northwest Africa, North America.
Maybe this is coming down. I'm not sure.
Speak up. It's all the same. All you're doing is going back to previous names of the land. Right now it's called North America. It was North Africa. It was Northwest Mexico. Or Northwest Africa. All you're doing is, so what you do is you just list the names. It's just chronological order. So what you don't want to do is you don't want to leave no stone unturned. So you put down all three names. That way they absolutely sure what it is. You just say North America. Yeah, if you just say North America, they like, maybe you don't know that much. But if you say Northwest Africa, Northwest Mexico, they like, dang. Be specific. I told the brother earlier. Y'all know what's funny? Cool. I don't know if any of y'all familiar with Grand Sheik Cujo. Cujo put a post on Facebook, and it said, if you want to learn how to write writs, start studying writs, and then start writing writs. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, damn, I like that. So I liked it, right? And I said, you can believe I just told somebody that a couple hours ago. Y'all know what his response was? I'm watching one of your civics classes. So I liked it because I said it. But I didn't remember that I said it. But you gotta have that type of stuff in your head. I didn't even remember saying it. But I said it. But when I seen it, it made so much sense. If you want to learn how to do something, learn how to do it. Practice. If y'all want to learn how to write Rick's, go to Rick's website. Rick's website?
What is it?
A writ is a,
Oh, W-R-I-T?
yeah.
Okay.
You do know or you don't?
Oh, it's a law, right? So-
No, a writ is a document, it's a written document that you write in the form of an affidavit, in the form of a writ of discovery or something like that. You write to somebody to either give them information or to extract information. But yeah, you know, it was funny that he said that. So when it comes to stuff like that, writing writs, and even this stuff, study. Nobody taught me how to write writs. I studied. And the first ones that I wrote, I'll be laughing at. Y'all probably be laughing. Y'all think some of them children over there wrote them like, you wrote this, but I got results. And then I just got sharper. You get sharper by practicing. It's the only way to keep the tool sharp. The United States of America is a contemporary political body politic union of European political states, guilds established at Northwest Amexem, Northwest Africa, North America. The United States is a corporate entity, being an artificial legislated creature which defines a corporation and exists in law by way of written charter or warrant and guided by a constitution and legitimized under the authority of the sanction of the Moorish Empire. This was done by way of the sovereign authority of the Sultan, in agreement with a select body of Europeans who treated with the Moors based upon the ancient moral principles of government. Thus, the Constitution for the United States of North America. Why does it say for the United States of America?
The United States of America is the corporation.
No, I said why does it say for the United States?
Because the Constitution was written against them.
So understand that it wasn't no gang of Europeans that sat around in Independence Hall and wrote no Constitution. I just want to make that clear. That's why because if me and him write something for me and him, we ain't gonna write written for me and him did.
It was for the Europeans to get permission to do commerce here over in Northwest.
That's the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. Right. The Constitution was written to keep them in check.
Yeah.
We're gonna read in a minute because a whole lot of Moors didn't trust them.
There's a map place on Walnut Street, like between 15th and Walnut. I usually go in there because there's like all this type of drawings and artwork of birds and stuff of Philadelphia. And, you know, it's like time travel in a sense, because you can go in there and look at the artwork. Some of these prints are they're priceless. And you get to see the whole mapping of Philly when it was looking like you get to see so-called slaves that was here in Philly. You don't really see them too much. You see regular working people of color.
People see people what?
You see indigenous people.
All right.
There, but I mean, these are black and white drawings. Like, I
Like
had to steer. I was like, okay, where's the where we at? I'm looking at these pictures and I'm seeing. I'm like, okay, you know, from movies and stuff like that, they'll tell you around this time period that my movie was in shackles, or I didn't see none of that in a lot of these drawings.
Listen,
And
if it was as harsh and as strict as they said it was, you think Frederick Douglass would have been able to beat up the dude that was beating him and stroll off? I mean, he strolled off. I mean, you know, they looked for him for a minute, but you know, it was taken care of. But Booker T. Washington strolled off. How many other people strolled off? How is it that my man sat there when you watched the movie? He's sitting there looking all distinguished, looking all serious, and he's sitting with the European on each side of him.
another question though, but that the city hall, was that there or they moved it?
I don't know if City Hall. I'm thinking City Hall was built right there.
Really?
I mean, that where they gonna move it from? From where to where? That's a big building. So you know what I'm saying? Up and move, so it had to be built right there.
Yeah, he probably handled affairs in other locations, but that was the City Hall once it was established.
The Constitution for the United States of North America, with its Republican form of government, is a good faith covenant, being allodial, oriented, and humanistic in character. Everybody agree with allodial? Everybody understand what allodial is?
Yeah.
Anybody not understand what it is? Raise your hand, please. Allodial means true, clear, free of any lords. So if I say, this is my allodial book, this book belongs to me. That's it. I don't owe, it's not like your apartment. If you have an apartment and you have a landlord, then that's not your allodial place. It's because it has a landlord. It's not free of a lord. But your home, where you live, where you reside, that you own, technically is your allodial estate. It's free of any lords, free of any liens or any of that nonsense. So when we talking allodial, we talking free and clear. The civilizing Moorish influence adopted into the present American Constitution of 1791 is in stark contradiction to the feudal forms of government which are common to the European political states and social orders. What's that mean? Somebody tell me, please. In stark contradiction to the feudal forms of government. What's that mean? What's the feudal form of government? It's called a what? The democracy will be so right here it says the Republican form of government. Right. If y'all look on the top, it should be. I should have Republican form of government and democracy on the top of the pages. Is it on there?
Yes.
It's in there somewhere. All right.
Yes, there.
Cool. Yes, there. Cool. I'm just giving y'all a highlight. I'm giving y'all stuff to point out. Stuff that needs to be pointed out so we can see it before we get to the actual treaty. I need y'all to turn to page 23 in your books. 33 for you, beloved. Why? See, ready to fuss. She just want to fuss, y'all. What's wrong with it? The Continental Congress. We there?
Yes.
Continental Congress. The Continental Congress was an agreed political body politic comprised of delegates, perceptibly, but not actually, predominantly by Europeans doing business at North America and organizing to establish a stable government. When they say perceptibly, but not actually, what's that mean? Now, think about the Continental Congress. Think about, like if you go to the computer and you pull up a picture of it, who you gonna see?
Europeans.
Europeans. Perceptively, but not actually. See, when you see stuff like that, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. You know what I'm saying? Get your shovel out and do a little bit of digging.
When I looked at it, I thought kind of like, say if you had a business, right, and no one knew you owned the business, but the Asians run the business or something like that. And like, well, you had an Asian face on your business.
So
that's the perception.
Now, where the boy?
He went over there.
He sent me a picture of a restaurant the other day. I think it's called King Tut's. Is that it? King Tut's or something like that? Right. So, you know the first, I'm going in like, who on that spot? Right. Now, I'm gonna tell y'all what I seen that told me who on the spot. I'm looking at the menu. They got hookah for $12. Now, who on the spot?
The what?
They got what for 12?
Hookah.
Oh.
That's that stuff that they smoke.
Oh,
Man. They know more on that spot than Europeans. Although that's ours, we ain't smoking hookah now. We do it now because it's the thing to do. But for a couple years ago, I didn't know what hookah was. I found out what hookah was in Savannah, Georgia. In Savannah, Georgia. He in Kuwait. Although it's ours. Who said they don't know what it is?
I learned it from Alice in Wonderland.
Hey, stay that way, Pop. Don't even worry about it. You know what I'm saying? But you see what I'm saying? But when I saw hookah on the top of the menu for 12 notes, I already know who owned this spot. I already know who owned this spot. Huh? Some stuff they smoke. I don't know what it is specifically, but they smoke.
Tobacco. Yeah. It's like the caterpillar from Alice in Wonderland. Everybody's seen that.
Man, don't listen to Bilal. Like you said, it's some kind of tobacco. Some kind of tobacco. I never seen Alice in Wonderland.
It's a form of tobacco.
You know what I'm saying? So, the hookah's free up there? All right, well. But I mean, you know, perceptively, you see King Tut. And you see all, like, like Savannah. There used to be a restaurant downtown called Savannah. And you go in there and the whole spot is black, it's dark. They got a bunch of Moors in there working. They got African artwork all around the place. It's Europeans running the job. Perceptively, it's us. But in reality,
I'm surprised they kept that phrase.
Can I add on real quick? If y'all remember back in the day on South Street, the Back to Africa artifact store, Europeans on there. Did I read the definition of the Continental Congress? So
Yeah,
that,
proceed.
everybody clear? The Continental Congress, the first national legislative assembly in the United States, which met in 1774 in pursuance of a recommendation made by Massachusetts and adopted by the other colonies. Can I go on?
Are y'all clear?
No.
Read it again from the beginning. Don't go on.
Continental Congress, the first national legislative assembly.
Stop. The first National Legislative Assembly. Where?
In the United States.
In the United States. Anybody still not clear? Because they'll have you believing that George Washington and his goons started everything. But George Washington was not a part of the Continental Congress. Under the Continental Congress, George Washington was what? He wasn't the president, he was a general. He's a general. The Continental Congress was an agreed political body politic comprised of delegates perceptively, but not actually, predominantly by Europeans doing business at North America and organizing to establish a stable government. This convention of European colonists / immigrants consisted of chosen delegates representing the several colony guilds or companies who settled at North America. What companies did they talk about?
The United States.
Now, some of y'all was here when we did the Articles of Confederation, so what companies we talking about?
Plantations in the cities.
What the plantations end up becoming what?
States.
States. So Pennsylvania's a corporation, right?
Yeah.
Corporation's a company, right? All right, let's talk. Let's talk. The modus operandi of some of the delegates. I ain't know what that word was neither. So if I stumped any of y'all, go to your little sheet and look it up. That's why I said that. Absolutely. The modus operandi of some of these delegates was not always conjoined to the noble principles and appearances. Look beyond the promoted perceptions. While many of the Europeans were generally displaying verbiage reflecting of integrity and higher principles, many of their true and secret motivations or purposes of action range from a desire for continued Christian conquest, the crusade mission. Everybody know about that. They still on the crusade mission. They still trying to make everybody that they can Christian. And even though we're going to read in this book, in the Treaty of Tripoli, that the United States in no way was founded upon Christian principles, they still tell you that this is a Christian nation. They harassing Barack Obama because they saying he's a Muslim. Wait till we get a little further in the book.
But can I just add on to what you just said?
Go ahead.
So, but recently, wasn't it a few months or a few years ago that they started taking out like certain scriptures that might relate to a Christian doctrine and out of like courthouses or something like that?
Remember, they took it out of school, they took it out of everywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's for a different agenda, though. What I was just gonna say was, they actually have footage of Obama stating that, the foundation of this country was built on Moorish and Muslim,
I got the video on my pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll show it to you after class.
Okay.
But he stood there.
He said it plain as day.
And the thing was, he didn't say nothing about Muslims. He said Muslims. See, because he know most people out there gonna say, "Oh, Muslim." It's called umlaut. It's the shift in the vowels. We're talking the same word. Muslim, call it how you please. Potato, tomato, tomato. Yeah.
It's NLP, that's it.
Yeah, I know.
Obama's the definition of NLP.
Question?
Amazing.
Yes, wanted to get back to modus operandi. Isn't that a method of operation?
Yeah.
Thank you.
But now you got to spell them just like I want you. Anybody? Can somebody pass them on back there? I even want them children to have.
They on the table right there?
Children that have those spelling lists as well. They can read too. I'm gonna get back to this Continental Congress. Number 2, an alleged and misrepresented quest for religious freedoms, actuating the Roman plans for the exploitation and enslavement of all Aboriginal peoples, the expanding and solidifying of the bishoprics' Roman Inquisition oppositions in the Western Hemisphere, a desire of some of the delegates to actually attempt to fulfill the high culture implementations required of such noble claims for establishing an ethical and moral government. I don't know how many of them had that plan.
Didn't you think that the Moorish people
Understand what? We're gonna get to that. Well, we're gonna read that in a couple pages.
Yeah, I think it was exactly as easy as they.
Yeah, it's not. It wasn't cut and dry. Like you show up, and I say, all right, cool. So essentially, what was going on at the same time? We was fighting each other. We was having wars amongst ourselves. So with all of us in this room, when the war started, when the war ended, it was just this room right here. Now everybody else that's in the room will constitute European. So all of us, and just y'all, we taking over. They sat around and watched us fight, and they watched us destroy each other bit by bit, and they picked up the spoils.
And then you gotta add your fear of Jesus, God, to it.
Yeah, they picked up the spoils. Turn to page 30 in your books. You should.
Yeah,
Huh?
what should we turn to?
I keep forgetting y'all got my book 40. You should see the consular titles of Minister Plenipotentiary.
Okay.
I think it's 30 in your books. Turn to page 30. Naboo, how many treaty books you have? Can you give one to Lady SetenRa Bey? Oh, you got one? Y'all got that? Consular titles of Minister Plenipotentiary. Key European colonial men of influence were authorized and given consular titles of Minister Plenipotentiary and assigned the duties of negotiating the Treaty of Amity and Commerce with the sovereign Moors, the heirs of the Moroccan Empire. Minister Plenipotentiary is an officer appointed by the government of one nation state and assigned or delegated authority to act as a mediator or an arbitrator between two other nations who are engaged in controversy. Everybody clear on that? Anybody need more breakdown of that? Or y'all clear on it?
Clear.
All right. I'm going to read it again for people who are scared to say they're not clear. Minister Plenipotentiary is an officer appointed by the government of one nation state. One nation or state, and assigned or delegated authority to act as a mediator or an arbitrator between two other nations who are engaged in controversy. Cool?
So what's the European spin off a lawyer and a judge?
I guess those are their minister plenipotentiaries. And half the time the judge is just doing it by himself. Even though y'all know it's unlawful for the judge to practice law from the bench. Law, and that's for a judge or a magistrate. So when you go to traffic court, and my man is sitting there saying, you ran the light, you owe this, he's practicing law from the bench. Now, if he practices law from the bench, he did what? He violated his oath. He violated his oath. Now, violation of oath is called what?
Treason.
Treason. That's punishable. That's punishable by prison or death. Don't be afraid to say that they committed treason against you.
Oh, yes.
Because how many times, how many brothers been put to death? George Bush, when he was governor,
Texas, yeah.
he put over 30 mentally retarded people to death. Look it up. George W. Bush, look it up, when he was governor of Texas. How you put a retarded person in jail?
Had the highest amount out of all the presidents in history.
Look it up. So if one of them comes down on you and he broke the law flat out, why not put charges of treason on him? In order for you to say that somebody committed treason, all you need is 2 witnesses.
That's it.
So if I go with you and you say he committed treason, and me and him are with you, all you need is us for witnesses. Oh yeah, I was there when he said it. In fact, I had my phone in my pocket recording it. See what I'm saying?
Got the evidence right here.
See, everybody keeps saying, what can we do? What can we do? What can we do? A lot. A lot. But the first thing has got to come with, y'all got to learn some of this stuff.
although they say that you broke the law, you didn't break the law, you broke the code. You went against the ordinance. You went against the statute. Because the law is the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, it's the Constitution, the Articles of 1643, 1777. Those laws were given to them by us. That's law. Anything that was put in place for them by us is law. And in their Constitution it says, it's like my man said, everything that came before the Constitution is law. Anything later, understand. A little further down the page, you should see Consul. C-O-N-S-U-L. I say Consul because that's the way it's pronounced. It's not council. It's Consul. Consul is an agent commissioned by a sovereign state to reside in a foreign town or port, etc., to protect, in accord with treaties and international law rules, to protect due process rights and interests of their government citizens, subjects there. Anybody unclear on what I just read? A consul would be, like, say, if the Moroccan government wanted me to go somewhere, the Moroccan government would say, send me to Spain. Because all of y'all are Moroccan citizens. So they send me to Spain to make sure y'all are okay. I'm the Moroccan consul in Spain, keeping my eye on y'all to make sure y'all protected, to make sure the law is covering y'all and y'all not being bamboozled like we being done right here. See, there's nobody watching out for us here when it should be us. It should be us looking out for us here, but it's not. We got a lot of people chasing that fiat. We see how much they be chasing it in a couple months, right? Well, you figure it's gonna hit the fan in a couple of days, but the trickle down will be in September or August. I hope I be seeing y'all then. And I'm being serious. Because once they start auditing these Federal Reserve banks and start shutting it down, and fiat ain't no good no more, what we gonna do? I asked y'all before, who got water in the basement? Who got bags of rice in the basement? Well, get some. And I'm being serious. It's about to hit the fan, y'all. The little greenbacks we got in our pocket, y'all already know it ain't worth showing. It might get you some nice stuff now, but when it hit the fan, listen, y'all know all these other nations are refusing to do business with that fiat? Y'all know they don't want it? Y'all know that the reason they killed Muammar Gaddafi is because he said, look, you want to shop over here in the continent of Africa, you bring gold. Don't come over here with that green stuff. We can't do nothing but use that for fire. They killed him because he said Africa for Africa. Without Africa, the United States and China and Japan, they go under. Where do you think your TVs come from?
Flat screens, iPads.
All that stuff comes from Japan. But the electrical capacitors that enable that stuff to operate come from the Congo. It comes from Zaire in Africa. So if Gaddafi gets his bank and gets everybody to come and shop in gold, well then they can't buy that stuff no more because they just don't simply have enough.
And it takes gold for most of these technologies too to work. You need gold in it.
I ain't trying to scare nobody. I'm trying to make you aware. I'm trying to make you aware. Go ahead and get a cheesesteak today. Go get a hoagie. Go get whatever you want because in 2 months you might not be able to.
$80 for a hoagie.
So go ahead and buy a couple bags of rice. I'm talking them 50-pound bags. I'm saying rice because I'd rather eat bags of black rice than eat anything out of a can because of the high sodium content, just simply because I don't know how long it's been in the can. Get some water. You can go and buy a case of water with 6 gallons of water, about five minutes. So buy a case of water every week. Put it in the basement. Because you're going to need to eat, you're going to need water. You can survive without food, but you need water. I ain't trying to scare nobody, I'm serious. This stuff is coming down the pike as of July 1st. Consul. Consul is an agent commissioned by a sovereign state to reside in a foreign town or port, etc., to protect and accord with treaties and international law rules,
to protect the due process rights and interests of their government's citizens. Subjects there. Now, subjects are what? Look at y'all sheets. Huh? Subject ain't on there?
It's on there.
One that owes allegiance to a sovereign and is governed by the laws.
Huh?
One that owes allegiance to a sovereign and is governed by his laws.
So so y'all got that definition. Somebody tell me what's the difference in a subject and a natural living person.
Subject is owned by the government. Natural person is allodial.
Subjects are slaves.
Subject is artificially created by the said government.
The subject is owes the allegiance to the government, but the sovereign is the government.
Now, when y'all go home, for anybody in there who has a birth certificate, go look at what you're called. A subject. Now, if I say subject, first thing you might think of is math. First thing you might think of is English. Now, how many subjects you got? 7. We're talking about school, right? But if I say to you how many subjects you have, I might be talking about how many children you have. But I would, in fact, be correct. If your children have birth certificates and they are listed as wards of the state as subjects, then I'm actually correct in saying how many subjects you have, but you will be offended. Call my damn children no subjects.
You usually hear that term, like I've seen some certain films like Robin Hood and stuff like that. And
You know what?
And the lords of the lands would talk down to the people and they would say things like that.
Yeah.
And that's why I would be offended.
Say my loyal
Yeah,
subject.
yeah, but see, pay attention to these movies. We was just talking about this earlier. Watch these movies, listen. They keep telling y'all. They keep putting it in your face, movie after movie, especially the older ones, because they knew that you ain't know none of this stuff. They figured we done killed off probably Noble Ali and everybody that was under him, they went and did their own thing. You got this one started that, this one started that, and this one started that. And then everybody just started dispersing, and the knowledge just went left instead of going right. Pay attention to these movies. They're giving it to y'all. Everybody learn what a consul is. A plenipotentiary is one who has full power to do a thing, being a person who is fully commissioned to act for another. It is a term which is applied in international law to ministers and envoys of the second rank of public ministers. So you're going to find out in a second that some people that y'all know, y'all heard their names all through school, you'll find out that they were ministers plenipotentiary for the United States. Y'all hit page 34. 44 for you. 44. Somebody else got to say. Moorish regencies. Y'all got that?
Yes.
Yep.
Same page? Moorish regencies. A regency is a minor jurisdiction of an empire or a kingdom ruled by a bey or a governor. Such a ruler or governor is referred to as a regent. There were many Moorish regents that did not want the oft-deceiving and theft-motivated Europeans to enjoy the empowering benefits generated by the continued sanction and use of the Moorish dominions. Many of the powerful Moorish regents were also not reluctant to make their thoughts and positions known about a doubtful political union by the Moors with the European immigrants. Based upon past negative experiences, the corrupt Inquisition practices, and the ongoing piracy issues, etc., solidified the opinion of many Moors, confirming why they did not trust the word of the encroaching Europeans / Christians. You see, there was enough people who didn't want it to go down, but some of them probably was afraid to speak. They may have been afraid to go up against the Sultan. You know, you might not like the way your pop beat your brother, but you ain't never tell him. You beat my brother too hard. Cool out. Because you knew what you was gonna get. So you see right here, they didn't agree with it. They didn't like it. But we got a ruler. Although they had power,
It may have been like Jesse Jackson,
It's too much happiness.
Al Sharpton. Who know? They know. They just ain't telling y'all. They ain't gonna say nothing. They let it go down. Although they didn't agree with it, they didn't stop.
For the ones that acted though, is that what leads up to George Washington's letter?
You mean thanking a sultan for protection? All of that?
Right.
All of that goes to the treaty.
Right, I mean, as far as the regents, the Moorish regencies who were against, when they finally acted.
You mean, all right, you mean in the part of the letter where he say, you know, those who are opposed to us.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because you got to figure, we talking the 1700s, the late 1700s. If anybody knows what happened in 1620 in Jamestown, Virginia, then you already know how grimy they was. What they did down there in the land where Pocahontas was from.
Islam, we had karmic debt to pay for having created the European in the first place, so it had to be agreed finally and resolved that the Moors would take these Europeans on and try to teach them governmental principles because it was our karmic debt. We created them.
It's like when you got to take care of your bad children.
Anybody confused about what she just said about us creating Europeans? Where's James at? James actually brought some literature here. Oh, here it is right here. He left it right here. We're going to divert for 1 second. I want y'all to write this word down. T-R-O-G. I'll give y'all a second to get y'all pen and paper. Everybody ready? Troglodyte. Troglodyte. Now, what I want y'all to do is go look it up. Now, you can put troglodyte monkey, you can put troglodyte nigger, whichever one you want to put. Go look it up. Now, when I see y'all in 2 weeks, somebody best tell me what the troglodyte nigger is. Or better yet, who?
I can read it to you in a sec. Okay. What's that?
That's that judge I was
Here, you put that on the camera. He said it's the judge he was in front of.
But is that not the chance that came that someone lived here and
He ain't living nobody. He took his DNA. We don't practice bestiality. They even made it lawful. I think in Sweden or Switzerland, in one of them lands, they made bestiality.
Yeah.
It's legal to actually walk down the street, catch a dog, and do what you want.
Yeah, that's just like they're trying to pacify pedophilianism.
Did you see that?
Well, listen, Dr. Umar Johnson warned you about that 2 years ago.
Exactly.
When they talk about, what is it, the DSM? What's that one? DSM. So they got the 4th edition out. So what they want to do is not make pedophilia a crime. Now, I want y'all to write something else down. This is an acronym. Write down NAMBLA. That's non-plug. Now, when y'all get a chance, go ahead and find out just how perverted these European males are. That's called the North American Man-Boy Love Association. And you wonder why your people was like, nah. I ain't making this stuff up. All you gotta do is look it up. And when you see the logo, what you're gonna see is a bunch of naked little boys in the part of the water playing tug of war. Because they want the lawful age of consent to go down to like 11. So they can touch on little boys.
They said they used it in with the whole homosexuality thing. They're saying it's a form of sexual attraction that exists, that can exist. So that's your thing. Like I like women, just like little boys.
You know what?
It all exists in nature, though.
This
Don't birds don't do it. Animals don't do it. Fish don't do it.
Nobody do it.
Why humans do it?
Nobody do it.
That's common sense.
Oh, I done deleted it. I had some stuff in here, some stuff that I pulled down, but I deleted it. Listen, even one of their most cherished and honored so-called scholars, Plato.
Oh, yeah.
Read the Plato Symposium,
Yep, I read it.
where he said the noblest act that can be committed is man-boy love.
Yep.
Homosexual love. He said when sex spoken of with a woman, they said sex with a woman when spoken of is purely for satisfaction. I mean purely for procreation. So my only reason for having sex with her, and her is to have babies. If I want to have some fun, I need to get all of them together.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. That's because no other animal on the planet does that. Now, you can sit here and tell me that the human is the highest form of animal on the planet. Well, I'm gonna give y'all just something to think about, and then we're gonna get back to the point. If everybody was all just in this little space right here, right? And I reach into my bag and I grab my gun, and I just start shooting, all y'all gonna get up and start running. Somebody's gonna get trampled. Maybe the older people, maybe that young little girl sitting back there. But somebody getting stomped on, somebody getting knocked over. Now, let's go out to the field where we find a herd of horses, cattle, wildebeest, whatever. And I let off the same amount of shots. They will all take off in unison, and none of them will barely fall. When they turn, they turn.
Yep. They in unison.
But we the highest form of animal, right? And we can't even get the hell out the way, so. You know why? Because they in tune with nature and we're not. They don't watch TV. They don't listen to the radio. The music that they hear is nature. It's the wind blowing between the trees.
That's how they know. I was watching Life of Pi when they were on that island, and the water started coming back up. And the human, he's looking like, what's going on? All the animals knew. Higher ground.
Into the trees.
They just knew automatically.
Yeah, because they in tune with nature. Now, for the few people, for the few people in here that went on a tour of Philly with us, y'all remember when we were strolling through the park? We was all in heaven because there's nothing out there but water and trees, right? And we amongst each other, and we all got like minds. You can't beat that. Everybody that was there, we just walking through the park. There's no cars. There's no vehicles coming through. We just strolling and
I didn't realize
whole
I was
world.
working until we went up that hill. It just was.
They wanted to be commandos.
But sometimes that happens because about maybe 57 years ago, when I worked in the Regency department as a nurse, one of our patients went off. He just flipped out. And you heard boom, boom. And there was nobody in the waiting room. It was like one person ran, and the waiting room was full. But all was gone up and ran together.
Because
and they didn't have a problem.
That's something that's in us. And when we see somebody run, we run. Like for instance, me and my cousin was walking down the street about 15, 20 years ago, right? And he just took off and started running.
That's right.
So I'm like, what the hell? So I started running behind him. When we was coming down the old road. It was a dog. He ain't say come on. He just broke. So I broke. Then I figured out why we ran. Yeah, but the point that I'm making is, they always say that we the highest form of animal, but we can't even think like they think. We can't even accept nature because we're not accepting it. We just dealing with it because it's here. If you was accepting it, and you be sitting at a waterfall relaxing, reading.
I know some brothers who plant their feet. They say they plant themselves to get back in tune with their mother.
That's hot.
Yeah, I heard that this brothers talk about using the sun to feed them, and in order to do that, they had to stay grounded. So when I was like, they get up in the morning and you do the sun stare, but your feet, sun gazing, but your feet are grounded and you don't have no sneakers on. So I'm thinking about them like that. We're so removed and out of tune from Earth.
My father-in-law made a statement one day about a European that he works with. He said, the fool was out there sun gazing and messed up his eyes. You ain't supposed to be looking at the damn sun. So at the time, I didn't feel like going into it with him. But this is what y'all gotta understand. Europeans are melanin deficient. And they can't deal with the sun.
whether it's their skin, their eyes, or whatever. Me and her was at the National Archives in DC. It was 60 degrees. What'd that dude say? The sun is killing me. And I'm standing behind her. I whispered in her ear. I was like, did you hear what he said? Did you hear what he said?
He was telling the truth.
What are you gonna? It was,
Yeah.
yeah, it was 60 degrees.
He was telling the absolute truth.
What are you gonna do? It's 90.
That's what I'm saying.
He ain't gonna make
I like
it.
that.
Which, so you gotta understand, when the melanin that runs through your body allows you to deal with that sun. It allows you to absorb the sun. So the melanin that's in your eyeballs will allow you to sun gauge